join in. Hello, everyone. I'm Joanna Behrens. I'm the proud president of Sustainable Events Network, Florida and Caribbean, and also Zero Food Waste Chair for the past 6 or 7 years, and just delighted to be able to be a part of this organization and all the wonderful programming that our volunteers and our board puts together. I'm just going to make a few brief announcements before I turn this program over to our moderator and speaker. I'd like to give a quick shout out to some of our board members who have joined us today. If I call your name, either shake some trees or acknowledge your presence. Our own Marianne Schmidhofer, who's our moderator today and incoming president, and our founding president, and past president Stephen Pollock, as well as Vicki both Marianne, Stephen, and I reside in South Florida. Then we've got Vicki Corder up in the Jacksonville, North Florida area. You can see Vicki on the screen. We've also got Sue Flack in Indian River County. Thank you. And the man behind, I call him our Wizard of Oz, the man behind the screen, our immediate past president, Francis Purvey. So we appreciate all of their help and participation. Just want to promote, for those of you who are not already apprised, please visit our website, senfc.org. We've got 2 great webinars coming up on April 11th. You're going to want to mark your calendars as well as register for them in association with Food Waste Prevention Week, which is April 10 to 16. We are in collaboration with the FIU Chaplain School of Hospitality, executing 2 back-to-back webinars. The first one is Zero Food Waste at Large-Scale Events. We've got some terrific panelists from around the country, including our own Dr. John Bushman of FIU, who oversees the food rescue at the South Beach Wine and Food Festival. Visit the website for more details, and then we'll segue right into a virtual cooking demo called We Need to Dough Better, International Recipes Using Leftover Bread and Grains, a virtual chef demo with Chef John Massey at FIU Chaplain School. We've also got coming up May 4th, our monthly virtual networking, Share Your Event, Composting Successes or Failures. This will be 4 to 5 p.m. on May 4th. Everything is on our website. You're welcome to join and register there. I want to encourage, if anyone is not yet a member of SENFC, our membership is $22 a year or $88 for corporate membership, which entitles up to 4 people to be a member. And most importantly, we appreciate our volunteers and those of you who choose to become engaged with the organization. So we want to encourage that as well. If you didn't hear it when you signed on, this is being recorded and will be posted in the next couple of days. We've got people still joining. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to our moderator, Marianne Schmidhofer, our board member, director of education, and incoming president. Thank you, Marianne, and thank you to our speaker, Melissa Milione, for speaking today. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanna, and good afternoon, everyone. We are so lucky to have Melissa speak to us today. She's a wealth of knowledge, and wanted to give you just a little bit of background on Melissa. Her title with Hyatt is the Corporate Director of Events for the hotels and resorts. She supports all of the colleagues who sell and coordinate catering and conference services for all Hyatt hotels in the Americas. So not just in Florida, but all through the Americas. She's responsible for developing and executing training, delivering innovation technology to support events, and developing talent. She's a graduate from Virginia Tech, their School of Hospitality, and areas of food and beverage management. As the director of catering, her team has twice been named Catering Conference Service Team of the Year for Hyatt Hotels, and she was named Director of Catering Conference Services of the Year for large hotels. She's very active in Hyatt's Commercial Service Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. She's also an active member for NACE and MPI. She's the past president of MPI North Florida and a trainer for the chapter CMP study group. She's been recognized by MPI North Florida as Supplier of the Year twice, and she's received the Distinguished President's Award. Her legacy, she's also gotten the Legacy Award. She's very active in her community. She volunteers in the local schools and serves on the Professional Advisory Board for Howard Fairling Department of Hospitality and Tourism at Virginia Tech. Before Melissa starts, I also wanted to give you just a little housekeeping. Any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat. I will go ahead and monitor it. I'll let Melissa know when there are questions, and then of course we'll have questions at the end. So with no further ado, I turn it over to Melissa. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you so much, Marianne, and thanks so much for letting me spend the next hour talking to all of you about my favorite subject, and that's food. I'm here to talk to you about the emerging trends in meetings and events, most of which surround our food and beverage experience. As I go through this, there may be trends where you think, gosh, I'm surprised she didn't talk about this. That's probably because I talked about it 2 years ago. So this is really forward looking. So every year as a company, Hyatt works on a trends presentation that's shared with all of our event managers all throughout Hyatt globally. We work on this information for months, and we use a variety of sources for the information. We look at what's happening in restaurants. We look at what the industry experts, what's in the trade publications. We go to trade shows. We look to social media to see what's hot there. We talk to our meeting planners and our customers, and we talk to our chefs about what they're seeing in their operations. And we gather all that information, and that's what I'm sharing with you now. There are a few broad themes that I'm going to review. The big themes in food and beverage right now include this focus on quality over quantity. There are always emerging health trends, so we're going to take a look at what's hot right now in healthy eating. Planners are getting back on the sustainability path, you all more so than most, but sustainability is an important part of the conversation currently. So we'll look at some things in our food trends that are impacting that. And I'll get into some specific food items and ingredients, and we'll look at what's trending in beverage and decor. It was really interesting last year when we started gathering this data and talking to chefs that a common thread in all of them, regardless of location, was the emphasis on quality over quantity. This trend is fueled by a couple of different reasons. The first, of course, is the challenges that chefs face with staffing and supply chain issues. This is making our chefs focus more on offering the best of the best. We heard many chefs talk about menus that are thoughtful and well put together. They said they're focused on being creative and they're excited with this emphasis on quality. Pardon me. Restaurants are now looking to distinguish themselves in this way based on quality and not on the variety of their menu items. This menu pruning, so to speak, is a direct nod to the fact that people value local, flavorful food that is high quality. They want to customize their meals. They don't want large, confusing offerings. In events, this gives us a great opportunity to offer the best that the area has to offer and to scale back on the number of items on buffets. This trend is evident in restaurants. It's often said that less is more, right? And the restaurant industry has taken this literally with a flurry of single and dual dish restaurants opening. The trend for single dish restaurants originated in New York and quickly expanded globally, from macaroni and cheese in Chicago to restaurants based completely on French fries in New York City, to whole hogs in Edinburgh, Scotland. If you can think of a comfort food, there's a restaurant for it. Simple menus with few choices make dining straightforward, and if the lines are anything to go by, niche restaurants are doing very well. People are craving what they've missed during the pandemic and what they can't easily get at home. Whether it's the comfort food that we remember from our childhood or the more recent memory of a great sandwich from a favorite deli, people really have craved what they missed over the last couple of years. So to bring the nostalgia into the modern age, chefs are creating menus with exciting comfort foods with a little twist. Think pizza burgers or miso mac and cheese, chicken katsu scotched eggs, or kung pao chicken tacos. These upgraded comfort foods really speak to that child within us while satisfying that adventurous taste buds that you have as an adult. Great way to really enjoy the experience as we get back into meetings and events. While it has eased some, your meetings and events are still impacted by that really bad combination of supply chain issues, increased cost of goods, and staffing challenges. Food prices are up 5.3% year over year. That statistic was as of November of last year, but they really haven't gotten any better, as you know, if you've bought eggs lately. There are a number of factors causing these increases. Of course, the fuel prices got to an all-time high, and while they've eased up, a lot of vendors are really just now catching up with the expense that impacted them last year. The trade embargo with Russia has made the cost of fertilizer triple in many markets, which of course makes the price of animal products go up. And then higher demand for food since the pandemic also drove up prices. So what does this mean for you as a planner? Food prices are going to be up. You can mitigate this by planning more streamlined menus. Again, go for quality products over abundant displays. You can also look to serving alternative proteins or maybe go fully vegetarian for some of your meals. Government involvement can also have a big impact on these prices. Currently, there is a case that is before the Supreme Court regarding California Proposition 12. This was approved by more than 2/3 of California's voters in 2018. It's a new law that would require housing breeding pigs and egg-laying chickens and veal calves in facilities of a certain square footage per animal for health reasons and for ethical reasons. Facilities for breeding pigs would need to provide more than 24 square feet of usable floor space per pig. This new law, while it's a great thing for the animals and probably the right thing to do, the reason I'm speaking about it is it will drive up the price of pork products if it's upheld. Currently, only 4% of hog operations are now complying with the new rules. So if this is upheld, you can expect to see things like bacon probably double in cost. The increased cost of some items is also causing chefs to remove certain menu items from their menus as the cost got too expensive. The wholesale cost of fin fish and shellfish is up close to 20% over the last 2 years, causing restaurants in cities across the country to remove these items from their menus. So I mentioned that you can mitigate some of these cost increases, and some of the things you can do is streamline your menus. You can look to gang your menus. In Hyatt, we offer menu of the day for breakfast, lunch, and breaks. And that is your best option, not only to keep your costs down, but it is the option that best supports food waste initiatives in the hotels. You can expect smaller portions of proteins, or maybe plan a menu that doesn't even have an animal protein on it and go with vegetarian meals or plant-based proteins. And ordering earlier helps. Ordering earlier allows the facilities you're working with to keep their costs lower. Those last-minute orders often come at a higher price. So let's shift gears and talk about healthy eating. Healthy eating seems to always be a trend, but it changes a little bit year over year exactly what goes into healthy eating. So let's look at some of the emerging sub-trends. It's no secret to meeting planners that dietary restrictions in the United States are out of control. Easily 20% of your attendees tell you they need a special meal. And while vegan, vegetarian, and pescatarians comprise a total of about 12% of our population, there are many people who fall into this new term of reducitarian category, people who want to minimize their consumption of animal-based proteins, or they're reducing the animal-based proteins in their diets. This global plant-based protein market is more than $13 billion in 2022, and it's projected to continue to grow. In the United States, it is a $1.4 billion market with projected growth continuing for the next decade. So while you may think that's a small percentage of your guests, it's an option more and more people are looking for, especially our younger attendees. And in that meeting environment, including one entree that's plant-based, or maybe incorporating a couple of plant-based protein hors d'oeuvres, can encourage your less adventurous attendees to try out these healthier food options. The FDA does not have a viable process, however, for evaluating the safety of these new food products. Ingredients or food additives that are genetically engineered. So in the United States, new food additives, including those that are genetically engineered, are allowed to enter the market through the voluntary, generally recognized as safe process. This allows the manufacturer to decide for itself without the FDA input or disclosure, and only using their own internal data whether or not a product is safe. So as you can see from this graphic here on the screen, the Friends of the Earth aren't a big fan of this revised approach to food production. So after years of explosive growth in the plant-based meat alternative products, critics have justly pointed out that some of the contenders don't seem as healthy or as natural as many of their advocates or fans claim to be saying that they are. Concerned eaters are moving away from hyper-processed science lab-produced meat substitutes to newer entrants who are creating similar flavors with healthier, more natural ingredients like mushrooms or seaweed. So as a result, you can continue to expect to see vegetables and healthy grains moving to the forefront of the plate. Cauliflower, broccolini, quinoa, farro, pilafs made with mixed grains and seasonal vegetables, lots of global flavors make for a beautiful dish without the animal protein. People who are hungry for more plant-based culinary options, and you're going to see more entirely vegan events being requested by health-conscious organizations in the future. Comfort food is also going meatless. So with a few minor changes, you can turn some of your favorite nostalgic dishes from the past to healthful meatless dishes. So on the right-hand side, we've got vegan chickpea noodle soup, or in the middle, vegetarian sloppy joes made with tempeh, which is a great stand-in for ground beef or ground turkey, or lentil bolognese, which is hearty and healthy and fulfilling, all without the animal meats. And look at this beautiful plate of sushi. This is made completely from vegetables and grains, no fish at all. Similar to how seafood producers have turned to farming to save natural fish populations, and GMOs are helping us grow crops to feed the world, scientists are working on alternative ways to produce animal proteins. I mentioned that many people are skeptical of these animal proteins, alternative proteins. Still, it's a huge industry with a lot of companies trying to corner the market. Last May, I went to the restaurant show in Chicago, and I would say easily half of the booths there were offering alternative proteins. It was honestly overwhelming. Many people are looking for these plant-based options with minimal chemical ingredients. Two great examples that are on the market right now include My Eats My Bacon and Umaro Bacon. My Bacon is made from mushrooms, and superfood Umaro Bacon is made from seaweed. I haven't tried either one, but I look forward to having that opportunity soon. Another term that's good for you to know is lab to fork. It's a newer term that we're seeing pop up in our trends research, and this is due to the increasing number of food products being created in labs. It's a departure from the plant-based foods and often includes a batch of biotech products. For example, Memphis Meats has developed the world's first cultured meatball, as well as cultured poultry, by using animal serum to grow animal cells into tissue. Z-Star has produced salmon, which they spell with a Z, so it's salmon, and tuna sashimi, which are also grown in a lab. Additional foods that are being grown in labs currently include animal fats and honey. So you can expect to see more products like this in the future. People continue to want more transparency about their food products and information about the farms their products are coming from. Functional foods are also gaining popularity. By definition, functional foods are foods that have a positive impact on your health beyond just basic nutrition. So many of you are used to hearing about gut health and the benefits of gut health. Those are functional foods. People who support functional foods say that they promote optimal health and help reduce the risk of disease. They're nothing new. It's just with the pandemic, the focus has really shifted to what can we eat to keep ourselves healthier? What can we eat to best support our mental well-being, as well as just our general self-care? So let's talk a little bit about sustainability. I know you're a sustainability organization, and I could probably talk for an hour just on sustainability in meetings and events, but there are some trends within the food trends right now that sustainability speaks to. Let's face it, over the last couple of years, we took a giant step backwards. This is what events looked like in 2020 and 2021 as everybody scrambled to come up with the best ways to keep everybody healthy. We were putting everything in plastic containers try as we might to look for biodegradable. In some cases, that just was a lost cause during the pandemic. But the good news is we're moving past that and we're getting back to practices that support our sustainability efforts. You all, of course, know that the Events Industry Council offers a certification in sustainable events, and the guideline follows the blueprint that was released by the United Nations, which is way much more than just reducing, reusing, and recycling. It's about total community health and well-being. As our world's population continues to grow, of course, there is increased pressure on farmers to feed the world. At the same time, farmland is vanishing and it's being lost to urban growth. Our farmland, our ranch lands are being consumed by expanding urban areas and low density development in rural areas. Over 40% of the loss of farmland is due to building individual homes. Not only is that bad for our environment, but as you can imagine, that continues to drive up the price of many food items. Another item that's pretty high on the list of sustainability when it comes to food items is milk alternatives. People have been choosing different milks for several years now. In some cases, it's due to allergies or sensitivities, but in some cases, it's just for general health reasons. But there are sustainability implications of these alternative milks as compared to dairy milk. In this particular graph, you can see the impact of dairy milk on greenhouse gas emissions, land use, and water use. Rice milk and almond milk also have a fairly large footprint, though it's half that of dairy milk, as you can see, with soy milk and oat milk being the most sustainable options. Now let's get into the fun part and let's look at some specific food items that are trending. The first one is maitake mushrooms. Creative chefs are always looking for meaty alternatives to actual meat, have long favored mushrooms. Portobello burgers are huge, right? And maitakes now are the new it varietal. Often served roasted or fried, the craggy surface, so that picture on the right-hand side in the middle is what the mushroom looks like when you pick it. You can see how craggy the surface is. It makes it really great to hold sauces and dressings. It may not taste like a burger, but it is incredibly satisfying how meaty it is. And it's even showing up alongside meat and seafood on main entrees. Here you see it roasted over root vegetable mash. You see it as part of a pasta dish with gnocchi and as the star of a goat cheese tart. According to 2021 data from the Pew Research Center, the Asian population in the United States doubled between 2000 and 2019. As a result, Filipino Americans make up the third largest group at 19%, or approximately 4.6 million people. Over the last decade, as a result, Filipino food has gained increased recognition in the United States. Popular pop-up restaurants have now become multi-store brick and mortar restaurants. Filipino chefs have won national and international awards and become YouTube stars. Popular Filipino mashups have attracted large audiences. And then last year, Jollibee Foods Corporation, the Filipino fast food multi-restaurant group, announced plans to launch 300 stores across the United States in the next year. Filipino restaurants are becoming dining destinations nationwide, and they're booking out months in advance. Popular dishes in Filipino culture include lechon, which is a whole roasted pig, longanisa, which is a Filipino sausage, and sisig, which is pork with onions and chilies. Industry analysts have anticipated that Filipino food would go more mainstream, and you'll start to see it in major metropolitan areas like New York, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., and Chicago. Nigerian and West African food is attracting a bigger audience as well and gaining prominence and prestige where it was once overlooked. Based on the foodways of hundreds of different ethnic groups, Nigerian cuisine is incredibly rich and varied, featuring rice and legumes, soups and stews layered with aromatic spices and chilies. Jollof rice prepared with tomato, onion, and spices, and fiery hot Scotch bonnet chilies is perhaps the best known Nigerian dish. Other dishes would include pepper soup, suya, which is seasoned grilled meats on a skewer. Some Nigerian chefs are using fine dining, dinner party style meals as an educational opportunity to teach others about their culture. It's also a chance to taste, to talk, and to discover something new in a vibrant cultural exchange. Consider this an overdue spotlight on just a few of the many native and indigenous chefs, activists, farmers, historians, and educators who are teaching us that food sovereignty is essential. Crystal Wapapa, who is the chef and owner of Wapapa's Kitchen in Oakland, California, was the first Native American chef to compete on Chopped. Crystal's mission is to educate the public about health benefits of native foodways. Her seasonal menus have included dishes like blue corn waffles and sweet potato and salmon tostadas. So when thinking about your menu, think about those non-colonized ingredients for dishes like maybe bison tartare and open-faced corn sandwiches. Coming from Japanese word meaning the Japanese people who have immigrated elsewhere, the word Nikkei has become synonymous with a particular style of cuisine evolving from the Japanese communities in Peru, fusing Peruvian ingredients with Japanese techniques and traditions. Nobu, the restaurant, can be widely credited with first popularizing the style of cooking globally. Now we're seeing many Peruvian chefs and restaurants specializing specifically in Nikkei style cooking. I don't know about you, but I love the bright colors. There's fresh flavors. There's wonderful preparations of dishes such as ceviches, tiraditos, causas, and grilled meat anticuchos. Just as Nikkei cuisine has become the harmonious melding of Japanese and Peruvian ingredients, chefs throughout the world, many of whom are of Japanese descent, are fusing Japanese ingredients or culinary techniques with foods they love from their surroundings. This wholly original approach is a natural extension of how cuisines evolve as immigration influences our foodways. Here are some examples of Japanese preparation on Italian classics. You've got a homemade oil pickled mackerel pizza. Sorry, give me pepperoni. Fish carpaccio with Japanese sashimi, and then a wafu pasta, a carbonara with whitebait and black truffles. Food Magazine has declared 2023 as the year of the croissant, and it's a year I can get behind. I think the last exciting thing to happen to croissants was over 10 years ago when the cronut came out. Thanks to TikTok, circular croissants are all the rage, and while cream-filled croissants have been popular in Asia for years, look for them to start emerging all across the United States this year. 2023 is also, we're also seeing the rise of other global fusion cuisines such as Korean and Mexican. Originally started in Los Angeles, this delicious combination brought together American-style Mexican food and spicy Korean flavors. Think Korean-style beef tacos, kimchi enchiladas, grilled cheese with gochujang mayo. At the trendy Tenho's restaurant in Manhattan, they showcase a spicy tomato tonkatsu ramen with bacon, basil sauce, and Parmesan. Nice little twist there. Ube is a purple tuber from Philippines. In fact, ube means tuber in Tagalog. So for many people, your first encounter with this bright purple ingredient is probably in Filipino desserts. For others, it might be in bubble tea. In either case, we love the pleasant sweet flavor and the eye-catching hue that has propelled this ingredient's popularity on Instagram, with chefs embracing ways to push the color further forward. Let's face it, this isn't a color you see naturally occurring in nature very often. Your concept doesn't have to embrace Asian flavors. Simply treat ube as a purple version of a Southern sweet potato. Here you see it in whoopie pies, a cake roll, and ice cream. There's a few ingredients that you'll begin seeing in dishes as well. Yuzu is tart and sour. This lesser-known citrus fruit is popping up in vinaigrettes, hard seltzers, mayonnaises, and more. It's kind of a lime, lemon, grapefruit flavor, and it's also great for accenting soups, vegetables, noodles, and fish. Turmeric. I think we've heard about turmeric for a number of years now. It's also called the golden spice. Turmeric continues to bring a heap of flavor to cocktails and other beverages, desserts, sauces, dressings, salads, and bread. Plus, I'm sure you've heard about the health benefits of eating turmeric. Kernza is a perennial grain whose growing practices help contribute to overall soil health. So it's one of those crops that's wonderful to be planted because it gives back to the earth. It's got a sweet and nutty flavor and can be used in cereals, beers, and other pulse-forward salads and pastas. Sunflower seeds are also expanding their reach and can now be found in crackers, ice cream, and creamy cheeses. Hibiscus. Hibiscus has long been a delicious addition to beverages and cocktails like tea. That's what comes to mind for me quickly. But chefs are now harnessing this sweet and tart flavor for uses in spreads and yogurts. And of course, don't underestimate the appeal of the beautiful pink color it gives any food that you add it to. Moringa is a little, moringa, we don't know a lot about this, but it is called the miracle tree. It's long been used as a herbal remedy in India and Africa. Moringa is often described as having a grassy profile, kind of like that of wheatgrass or maybe spinach or kelp. Moringa leaves, powders, and oils are quickly growing in popularity due to the abundance of health properties. And I think you'll see it popping up in cocktails, sauces, and maybe even desserts. Sakilpa is a pumpkin seed dip that could be the next hummus or guacamole. Pumpkin seeds are a functional food that are high in protein and high in magnesium. So this dip is not only delicious, but it's also good for you. Chiltepine peppers. The chiltepine pepper is a tiny, round, or maybe oval-shaped chili pepper that grows wild throughout much of the United States and Mexico. However, be careful. It measures up to 100,000 on the Scoville heat unit scale. Just to give you a point of comparison, jalapenos only register 5,000. Chiltepine peppers are often dried and crushed for spices and seasoning and used in soups, stews, and bean dishes. The pepper has a very distinctive smoky flavor, and sun-dried chiltepines is a favorite way to dehydrate them. There's also a green version of the fruit that can be used in salsas to bring in a nice level of heat. These can also be pickled with other ingredients to add a little heat to what you're pickling, and can be added to relishes and other condiments. Shot is a family of savory snacks that originated in North India. They're typically served as an hors d'oeuvre out of roadside stalls or food carts across South Asia, Pakistan, Nepal, and Bangladesh. Shot variants are all based on fried dough with various other ingredients. And I don't know about you, you put anything in fried dough, I'm going to eat it. That sounds delicious. Going by many different names, including manouche, manakish, manaish, and manakish, these Middle Eastern flatbreads share a common thread. They're a flaky, leavened bread, typically cooked on a griddle and topped with aromatic za'atar seasoning and olive oil. They're grounded in deep-rooted tradition, but now we're starting to see local variants pop up based on farm-fresh ingredients. We're also seeing innovative spins on classic comfort foods, as I mentioned, and after a stressful and difficult couple of years, people are yearning for minimal, no-frills interpretations of classic meals and comfort foods that take you back to your childhood. Popcorn is huge right now as a result, and I think you'll see it continue to have a presence on breaks. Japan's national fungus is koji, and this is really stepping into the spotlight. There's a new Nordic cuisine that really helps cement pickling and preserving and fine dining. So I think pickling is one of those trends we've been talking about for a few years. And this koji is now bringing these fermented flavors front and center. This product is traditionally made from fermenting rice, barley, or soybeans. This fermentation is the process that also makes miso. So many of you have had miso, you know what I'm talking about with that flavor profile. The difference now really is in the flavor base, the ingredients, and the approach, and the focus that the chefs and even bartenders are applying to this. It gives us a shared appreciation of fermentation, and it's spreading across cultures, cuisines, as well as service categories. This versatile fermenting and flavoring ingredient has been favored by chefs for many years, and it's also playing a starring role appearing in plant-based meat alternatives such as what's shown here, Prime Roots koji bacon in the United States. Wine tours and farm trails are nothing new. What is novel is our DMOs are creating hyper-specific food and drink special interest tours to market themselves to niche groups of travelers. So with food and experimental tourism ever on the rise, these self-guided exploration tours let people go at their own pace and create a sense of self-discovery. By identifying small markets of extremely engaged enthusiasts, each destination can help build a long-term reputation for special interest groups. Planning events with a destination-themed menu isn't anything new for planners. Still, this trend gives us lots of new resources to make these events even more hyper-focused on local food and drink scene. In New Jersey, you can take a pizza tour. In West Virginia, you can do a pepperoni roll tour. In South Carolina, you can do a pimento cheese tour. And in Northern California, you can take a taco tour. All of those sound great to me. Now let's look at my favorite food category, and that's desserts. A dessert that experiences a resurgence every few decades, in large parts thanks to the show, is the classic baked Alaska. It's back in full force. Modern iterations of this may be to supersize it to share, flaming it tableside, or serving it deconstructed. No matter how you're serving it, it's hard to go wrong with ice cream, sorbet, or semifreddo topped with that torched meringue. And the show makes it all the more worthwhile, right? Look for variations such as baked Alaska cupcakes, torched a la minute. Food meets science with syringes. Here we can inject the filling into the donut, the whoopie pie, or the cake. It's not a new trend, however, it seems to be one with lots of staying power. Kui is a generic term for desserts found in Southeast Asia and parts of China. Kui is made mostly from rice flour or glutinous rice, tapioca, or mung bean. Typical flavorings include coconut, pandan, and palm sugar. They often have a soft, springy texture and may come in any shape or size, including very colorful, photogenic, striated layers like you see on the top. As Americans get more familiar with the various regional cuisines found in Southeast Asia, and as more chefs of Southeast Asian origin open their own businesses, we're seeing growing interest in these treats. Social media really propels food trends forward. You can always count on trends that are shocking and out there to get lots of focus on social, right? And no place more so than TikTok currently. TikTok's short form video has quickly become a significant driver for restaurant traffic amongst its users. Considering that TikTok has been the fastest growing social media channel for the past couple of years, this large and growing audience of more than 87 million people in the US alone really can have an impact on what we're serving in restaurants. In a survey of TikTok users conducted by a marketing agency, MJH, they found that the platform is driving a surprising level of specific restaurant behaviors, including 53% of millennials on TikTok have visited or ordered food from a restaurant after seeing it on the app. 38% of US TikTok users across all age groups have visited or ordered food from a restaurant after seeing a video. Roughly 30% of users have traveled longer distances for new dining experiences after seeing a video, and 28% claim to spend more money than they usually would on dining out after seeing a TikTok video for the place in question. Here's a number of food items that were very trendy over the last year on TikTok: cloud bread, pancake cereal, dalgona iced coffee, and tortilla folds. So what's next? And here are pictures of an event I attended last year where the break items were all popular TikTok foods, and they included QR codes at each station so that you could scan the QR code and see the TikTok video talking about the trend, which I thought was a really cool and innovative way to make a break a little more fun. Let's shift gears and take a look at beverages. First, let's look at trends in non-alcoholic beverages. Hot on the heels of bubble tea, don't be surprised if you start to find chunks of fruit in your coffee. While many Asian cultures have traditionally preferred tea, coffee has made wide inroads, in part thanks to global brands. Now, younger Asian consumers have taken to putting fruit in their coffee to sweeten the bitter edge. Not to mention, it can add a fun pop of color. So it's not really that different from bubble tea. It's typically an iced espresso mixed with a thick fruit puree with chunks of fruit and milk. Coffee plants have not had a great few years if you follow food markets in the news. Rising global temperatures and extreme weather have caused so much damage to the harvests in the coffee growing areas. So you may have noticed a price pinch, whether you're buying coffee from the grocery store or at your local coffee shop. Coffee bean prices as of the end of the year last year were at a 30-year high. What might be less obvious is the ever-increasing alt coffee category, beverages that are caffeine-free or mostly caffeine-free with a robust coffee-like flavor. Such as Ticino's caramel dandelion nut roasted herbal tea, which comes in single serve tea bags. Or you can get your cozy fix with golden milk, which is a sunny yellow caffeine-free beverage served hot and loaded with, you guessed it, turmeric and other spices. Mushroom coffee is a delicate blend of ground mushrooms and coffee beans combined to brew a dark, smooth, and nutty coffee. Mushroom coffee generally uses medicinal mushrooms rather than culinary mushrooms. A common medicinal mushroom used to make this trendy beverage is chaga, and chaga is what you see in the picture on the bottom left-hand side. It's an adaptogenic mushroom, naturally, which means it naturally counteracts caffeine jitters because it regulates your stress and the hormone cortisol in your body. Other health benefits include immunity support, which I think we're all looking for these days, stress relief, anti-aging, beautifying, endurance, and increased cognitive function. That mushroom looks pretty gross, but after hearing that list, I think I should start drinking this. We're also seeing increased interest in tea. So look for more tea experts to be part of events. What a great break to have a tea expert to explain the tea options on the break, and look for sparkling tea to become very popular. And it seems like we look for new waters every year. This year, the hot water is sapsucker. Sapsucker is a plant-based and nutrient-rich water powered by 46 naturally occurring minerals, vitamins, and antioxidants. Sapsucker is organic. It is sparkling tree water. The subtle bubble and slightest hint of natural sweetness make it delicious and easy to drink, and it's quite refreshing. It is tapped from Canadian maple trees in Ontario and Quebec, and it provides a low carbon footprint versus other plant-based beverages on the market. And I'm happy to see it's in a recyclable can. All right, let's talk about the real fun stuff, alcoholic beverages, and see what the trends are there. Specialty cocktails continue to have their moment. I think this is one of the biggest things as people finally got out of their houses and got back into restaurants. They wanted that fun cocktail experience. Many varieties of traditional Moscow mules are out there, martinis, Manhattans, they're all back in full force. And another classic with a twist is the espresso martini. The espresso martini was invented in 1983. The cocktail lore tells us that a weary young supermodel went to a bar and asked for a drink made with coffee so she could keep partying, and thus was born the espresso martini. Not only are they really back in fashion, I was in a bar recently and I noticed that they had espresso martinis on tap, which I thought was quite interesting. In the 80s and 90s, popular cocktails tended towards sweet. In the early 2000s, bitter was really big, and now in 2023, briny is in style. And we're not just talking about dirty martinis, but newly branded coastal cocktails that embrace oceanic flavors and ingredients, usually with an eye-catching edible garnish like that drink on the top that has the shrimp on it. Think of cocktails made with pickle juice, Old Bay seasoning, and the salty dog is back in vogue because of this trend. There's been an exuberant return to shared large format cocktails as people get back together and look for some fun and personal connection. Don't really expect pitchers or scorpion bowls of the past, but look for hip and happening cocktail bars to introduce new and aesthetically pleasing interactive ways for people to share a spirited drink. The macro cultural trend of brands leaning into nostalgia really is manifesting itself in a variety of ways, including childhood sweets getting a grown-up treatment. How about a Fruit Loop Cosmopolitan, an Applejack sidecar, or a peanut butter banshee? Nighthawk, a popular bar in LA, features spiked cereal milk, cocktails that are made with Captain Crunch and bourbon, and Cocoa Puffs with vanilla vodka. Or how about a Fruity Pebbles margarita made with raspberry White Claw? We're seeing restaurants and bars around the country introduce everything from cocktails based on sugary breakfast cereals and boozy ice cream floats to drinks with popsicles, pop rock rims, and even the return of the Jell-O shot. Although avocado is popular in sweets, in smoothies and desserts across Southeast Asia, it's rarely made it into drinks stateside until now. There is a classic Austin Mexican restaurant, Cura's Grill, which has been famous for their avocado margaritas since the probably 1990s. Outside of that, the avocado has rarely been seen in cocktails. As this star ingredient in best-selling dishes like guacamole or avocado toast, it shouldn't be a surprise to start to see avocado make the leap from the dish to the drink, where its creamy mouthfeel adds body and the fats cut through the alcohol's heat. You'll see avocado margaritas, avocado daiquiris, avocado gimlets, and more. The low to no alcohol by volume movement has been growing steadily. As producers improve their flavors and production methods, more and more non-alcoholic options are entering the market. This wide variety of products replicates actual spirits and gives bartenders something exciting to do when they're crafting delicious non-alcoholic drinks with diverse flavor profiles. Also, please don't call them mocktails anymore. That word has gone out of style. During the pandemic, many people became their own home bartenders or grabbed cocktails to go. Now, as everybody's coming back, this pent-up demand for presentation and flair of an expertly prepared drink is huge. We're seeing a rise in drinks finished at the table side. Beyond their traditional cart, bars and restaurants are introducing modern tableside tricks like color-changing cocktails made with butterfly pollen, unveiling of smoke, bursting of a bubble. Those beverages on the top left-hand side have a bubble blown on top of them that bursts and smoke comes out of it. These presentations look great on Instagram. They add a wow factor, and they can help create a signature bespoke experience that can really increase beverage sales. Convenient, cost-effective, and tasty. There's nothing not to love about premium pre-batched cocktails on the market today. So whether they're sold in ready-to-drink cans or in larger bottles, pre-mixed cocktails have shed their less than sparkling reputation as specialty drink. You can expect to see pre-batched artisan cocktails to be one of the future trends in food and drink. More and more, you can find local options. And then why not bottle something in-house? The picture on the upper right-hand corner is from the Grand Hyatt Hong Kong, where they bottled cocktails for a Prada event that they had. Beverages are also going high-tech. The Canna molecular beverage dispenser can make everything from waters to iced teas and soft drinks, wine, and cocktails. Canna has a digital 3D printer technology that is revolutionizing the beverage industry. The belief is that if these beverage printers, the belief is that they can change the world. Their view is that the beverage industry is broken and that this 3D printer can fix it. The carbon emissions required to ship beverages around the world can be stopped. Their printer can reduce water usage dramatically. It takes 600 liters of water to make a bottle of wine, 200 for a glass of orange juice. And the amount of waste generated can be reduced. The average US household uses 3,500 beverage containers in a year, and less than 20% of them get recycled. With this device, you make the beverage as you need it, and you're not having all that waste that goes with it. A little more low-tech is a product called from Bartesian. It's a new cocktail machine that we're beta testing in several of our hotels. This little machine makes high quality cocktails from pods similar to what you have in a Keurig. This could be a great way to add high quality cocktails to a small event without a bartender being required. At less than $400, this would make a great birthday present for someone you love. Ripples is a device that prints images onto beverages and food items. It uses edible pigments, which can vary according to the print surface, and project the image onto coffee. You can even walk up to the device, take a picture with your phone, Bluetooth the photo into the device, and the picture gets printed right onto the beverage or the cupcake or the cookie, whatever the item is. And what a great opportunity if you're looking for a branding opportunity. All right, I'm going to close out by going just through a few of the trends that are out there in decor and meetings and events. Tablescaping is really hot, really stepping away from the minimalist design that we've seen over the last decade. We're going back to the 70s. 70s gave us macrame, rattan, houseplants, sometimes a hideous mishmash of classic brown and orange prints. There's a playful sort of eclecticism to this era, which meant people at the time were unafraid to bring together elements from other eras that inspired them, even if it didn't always work. There's a special emphasis on warm colors, soft geometric shapes, swirling patterns, and curved edges. We're also becoming used to the new normal of post-pandemic world, the trend of using dining tables and food as fun form of escapism remains. You can create your tablescape to give you a sense of place. So think Amalfi in the summer with the crystal blue waters and lemon scented air, or the sense of Mexico with the ceramic plated dishes and all of the elements that support that. Or how about that beautiful coastal tablescape in the middle? These three-tiered service plates and trays are all the rage, and they're also a great way to add elevation to a break display or even to serve individual refreshments to a table of guests. Neon had a moment at Coachella last year, and we're not just talking about their neon after party. Coachella is a virtual playground for expressing every kind of style and aesthetic. So in addition to neon, you'll see interesting uses of geometrics and shapes. It was also a top 2022 luxury designer trend. Any of you on the call, if you are fans of Emily in Paris, you've seen her wearing a lot of neon. We have all heard about monochromatic, meaning one color. Now we're hearing this term monofloral. Visualize an aisle flanked with the same flower type in the same color over and over again, building to dramatic blooming arch at the front. Envision a tabletop adorned with repeating flowers in interesting shapes as far as the eye can see, conjuring a single magnificent vision. Designers are looking to incorporate reclaimed wood in their interior design and are still using this as a great accent piece, not necessarily the central design element. Macrame hanging planners add the right touch of natural elements and really complement that boho chic look. It turns out a dull finish is anything but dull. What we're seeing in balloonscapes is these dull finished balloons, many cases also in a monochromatic theme. Just keep in mind that there are vendors out there that make balloons out of biodegradable material. So we want to make sure we're making the right choice for Mother Earth. Another way to incorporate local into your events is to support local artists or students. Add a graffiti wall to your event, invite local artisans to come in and create it and make it an interactive experience for your guests. And what a great photo opportunity, right? Finally, the Pantone color of the year is Viva Magenta. This year's color of the year is powerful and empowering. It is an animated red that revels in pure joy, encouraging experimentation and self-expression without restraint. It's electrifying and it's a boundless shade that's manifesting as a standout statement. So I'm going to stop there. My contact information is on the screen, but I'd love to open it up for questions, and I'll stop sharing so I can see your faces and answer your questions.
Oh, Melissa, that was just amazing. There were a couple of things that came up on the chats, but you were rolling and I didn't want to interrupt, but I did want to just go back. There was a comment, I think, from Mariana that I wrote it down, the moringa, is that your miracle tree?
Yes.
She had commented that grows in Miami as well.
Oh, that's really great to hear. Well, maybe we need to harvest it and get ahead of this trend and make some money from it.
Exactly. And then there another question that came up that I wanted to ask, what is gang menu?
Oh, thank you for asking that. So ganging menus is serving what other groups are serving. So in Hyatt, we try to make that easier for you by offering menu of the day. And so with the understanding that if there are 5 groups in the hotel on Tuesday at lunch, they're all eating the same menu. It really helps keep costs down. It makes it easier for the kitchen to prepare. And beyond all of that, the most important part is it really helps minimize food waste. So it's definitely your sustainable option. If you're doing business with places that don't have a menu of the day, ask them what other groups that are in there that day have ordered so that you can piggyback off of their orders.
And then Joanna had a question. Which Florida or Caribbean Hyatts are delivering some of the most innovative cuisine right now?
That's a great question. Our chef at Hyatt Regency Coconut Point is extremely talented. I know that he would work very closely with you on putting together an innovative menu. Same at Grand Cypress. Chef Marin at Grand Cypress is a delight to work with and is extremely creative. And while you don't often think of the island locations because they have such an opportunity when it comes to procurement, I attended a meeting at Grand Hyatt Baja Mar 2 weeks ago, and they hit it out of the park. Not just with the food quality, but the creativity was over the top. So I would encourage you to check them out.
Awesome. You said in your presentation that don't call it mocktails anymore. So what is the word for non-alcoholic beverages?
Non-alcoholic beverages is what people want to call them, or low ABV. I think people take exception to the word mock. It's like you're mocking me for not wanting to drink alcohol like everybody else. So when we were doing our research, I thought that was really interesting because I was still calling them mocktails.
And I thought that was the hip word to use, but
but apparently it's passe. Like the shift from flexitarian to reducitarian. I love this term of reducitarian.
Seriously.
Yeah. And Rosanna makes a great point. You know, be careful with the balloons and the plastic materials, of course. You know, that's a cautionary tale for an item like that, for sure.
Absolutely. Because it's not only the materials, but it's also the helium. You know, helium is very damaging. To extract that from the earth is
Yeah.
damaging. Just wonderful. Any other questions? We are coming up to an hour. Were there any other questions anybody had for Melissa?
When's the tasting?
I know, I'm starving. I should have eaten before this.
Just
Starving.
phenomenal. I'm like on ingredient overload. And here I thought I was enlightened. I mean, I have a whole new vocabulary. 4 pages of notes I took.
Oh, that's outstanding.
I took
Joanna,
a bunch of
that
notes
was the same for me when I first heard this presentation, and I think it's got to be one of the most fun ones that we've had for SENFC since we started this. And I know Stephen's very happy to hear about the focus moving forward on vegetarian and those kinds of plant-based menus and all kinds of ways to encourage planners to embrace this. And you know, less is more. Start with plant-based and then add layers for everybody else versus the other way around. So
Agreed.
good stuff
Agreed.
coming down the pike. And yes, I'm ready for my cocktail.
Thank you. Thank you, Vicki. And Vicki, thanks for inviting me to be here today.
You're so welcome.
And
Thank you.
Stephen, you unmuted. Did you want to say anything?
No, I just wanted to say I was very happy to see all the plant-based options, and people don't, you know, a lot of planners say, well, you know, we have to have meat, and typically it's like, you know, 80% of the dishes have meat and dairy in them, and maybe 20% at the most are totally plant-based. And the thing is that, you know, I myself being a vegan, I don't eat anything with meat or dairy in it.
Yeah.
The people who are real heavy meat eaters, they'll eat vegan dishes. And so really I think it should be flipped the other way. I think it'd be good on a regular basis to have 80% plant-based, especially with all these meaty things like the bacon you were talking about, and things like that can be plant-based and hit the taste buds for vegan. So I think it should be flipped the other way, 80% vegan and 20%, you know, have a hamburger, a real hamburger for those people that have to have it. I don't want to discriminate against them, but I think that you hit the most number of people if you go plant-based.
Yeah, I think it's knowing your audience. You know, I know that there, you know, I can look at groups and look at the demographic of a group and think, maybe it's not going to work for that group. But I think the majority of the groups out there, like I said, maybe it's starting small. Maybe it's picking one meal and let's try a vegetarian meal for lunch and just see how that goes. And I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised.
This was fantastic.
Another thing I think that's helpful. Another thing I think is helpful is to kind of educate your audience, because so many people are concerned about climate change and sea level rise and things like that, and how it affects hurricanes and tornadoes and all this weather. When you go plant-based, and Melissa, you had pointed out, you know, the impact on different types of plant-based milks, for instance. When you go plant-based all across the board, you're basically helping to keep down greenhouse gases and conserve water and all sorts of good things like that. So it's an environmental thing as well as a dietary thing.
For sure.
Well, once again, Melissa, thank you so much. This was just so much great information. We will have this recording up on our website for those who did register and weren't able to make it. So we will continue to spread all this wonderful new knowledge on the food and beverage industry. So thank you so much. And I hope everyone has an amazing day. And thank you for participating.
Thanks.
Thanks all.